Hello everyone, I'm Susanda Njinga and welcome to On the Couch.
So I started with the Happy Feet Youth Project in 2007. We used campus dance there, we feed, we travel. And again, it was a team of 30 campus dancers where we said, guys, we're gonna do campus dance like it's never been seen in Cape Town. And we wanna be the #1 campus dancers in Cape Town. And it took a lot of work, in starting to choreograph the dances, knowing who's the leader. But yeah, for me, it was really amazing to be part of the team. And that also went into tourism, where I started my tourism business, which is Siviwe Tours. Again, immediately there when I entered the space, as a freelance guide, I had to start my own company because it was growing. And again, I had to look around, and I got one of my friends was called Nati. He was selling shoes, We were buying these Supergas. He was a very good salesman. He did it with a lot of energy. And I said, my brother, what about you take the same energy, you do it here in tourism, join us. So I started, and Nati said, I know someone else. And again, I ended up becoming part of a very good team in Langa, where we have a 5-star review company in tourism. So, and also it goes on to Ithuba. Immediately, we saw the only way for this to work, we need to form up a strong team around the students. From the students which were selected to the people who are going to support them, needed really like a strong team around it as well. And now the Spinach King, it's a franchise we bought there. And it started with a team of mothers who are growing the spinach with 4 gardens in Langa, because we source the spinach from the community. Like being part of mothers, 30 mothers, wake up every day in the morning, they work in the garden, and they give this love to all these baby spinaches to be adults, and then we take them. So it's been like, for me, like the reason I was excited to sit here and to meet everyone is because, and I love to be part of a team, whereby we tackle not easy challenges, we want the challenging challenges, and also being part of Red Bull Amapiko, I was part of a very strong team that tackles also not easy stuff, but things that are more rewarding. And now part of Feather, another team that also is working together and taking big challenges, to impact the community and to impact the world we live in. So that's Siviwe for you guys. Yes, thank you.
So now you're just like a full-on team player, Nje. I'm excited you're on the couch with us today, and I'm excited that you're going to be sharing some of your learnings, because it seems like you have a lot of experience with different types of teams. But Palesa, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and your involvement in working with teams?
Okay, thanks, Susanda. For me, starting out, I don't really think I was a team player, hey? I remember even from high school, I used to be so busy. Like I was part of a youth group, but space of stuff, and people will want me in their team. And I think because I used to cheat a lot, like to cheat in those games. That was the only way. And the advantage that I was a very skinny kid, so it would be so difficult for you to hit me with a ball. So I think that's why they wanted, like the older kids always wanted me in their team, because they knew this one will play dirty and she will play to win.
I love it.
So, but somehow, when I was 12, a lot of things happened that changed my life. I found God. I found myself in church, that type of stuff. And that's whereby I used to have a lot of pain within me. And I changed that pain. That pain translated into anger. From anger, somehow it became empathy. That empathy became like my passion, it drove me to say that I don't want to see other kids going through what I went through. And I think that is where Priyo Tech was formed. Priyo, the word itself means providing real, innovative youth opportunities. So I wanted to kind of use my passion in order to do good, no more cheating, to do good within the community, to do good for other people and that type of stuff. But while we've had a lot of lessons, like when you start up your business, you don't think that you are infringing on other people's territory. It's just like, this is your business, this is what you're starting, you have this passion and you want to work within your community, not realizing that there are other, oh, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it. It makes for great ambience. Don't even stress.
Not worrying that it's not just within your own team, like the team that you work with. There are other stakeholders that are involved. For us, firstly, when I started off as Ithuba, which was a non-profit organization, we used to work a lot with government. Even then, we had like a lot of backlash and that type of stuff. And then we moved on, like as the business grew. Last year, let's know about this. We had a problem whereby one of the students was actually stabbed. And when we found out, it was something that somebody internally was trying to recruit some of my kids into gangs, because these kids are computer literate, they've got IT, coding and that type of stuff, into gangs. So they are very profitable to them in order to grow their businesses, and I was not going to stand for that. This was one of the scariest things that I had to do. I had to man up and go, like, imagine going into a gang house trying to negotiate for your students their safety and that type of stuff. So these are the communities we come from. These are the people, like, people always call me crazy because they always say, why are you not afraid? They don't know the type of anxiety behind closed doors that I actually go through and that type of stuff. And when it comes to my own team, for me, each and every year, sadly, I have to let go of like 5 people, because we work on like internship programs whereby we build their skills. When they are set, we help some of them to establish their own businesses and let them go. We started something called Startup Scale Up, whereby we help them while they are still within us working as interns. Part of their salaries is actually placed aside so that when they leave, they've got something. It's either they can establish their own businesses, or if they so decide to go back to university, they've got something, or enter the job market, because when you enter the job market, you don't get paid within the first month. I've had a lot of challenges when it comes to team. We had a break in that, so as living through the COVID-19 without actually doing any business, and only to find out that it was somebody within the team still feeding information to the gangs and that type of stuff. So yeah, when it comes to teams, it's very difficult, because people will say nice things to you because they want to get employed. But once they get employed, they see other opportunities to grab some of the things that you've got and use them elsewhere, especially with people when they know that they're about to leave, they are going to do other things and that type of stuff. So when it comes to teams, it's a difficult dynamic that you have to work with. And also for myself as well, it was a learning experience, because I always thought I knew where I wanted the business to go and how I wanted the business to go, not knowing that at times you have to let other people drive your own business. There's something that I learned, I call it the yes and. In most instances, when somebody tells you about your business, you are like, yes, but this won't work because of that. But now I'm like, yes and, okay, let's build on that. Yes and, okay, let's build on that. Instead of saying yes, but, because once you say yes, but you're actually not agreeing with that person. But if you say yes and you're open to suggestions, saying that I'm open to learning. So I'll stop there.
That's actually awesome, Palesa, because what you're saying about, like, being able to let other people take control in a team, right? It takes a lot from a person, and it means that you need to be able to trust your team, and you need to trust that everybody knows whatever it is that they're doing within the team, right? But what I want to know from you guys is what then makes a great team player? Like, what do you consider as somebody who makes a great team player that you can trust and kind of allow into your space and into your business to ensure that your vision is still going to be achieved? So Siviwe, I think I'll throw that at you. Like, what for you makes a great team player?
It starts from if someone approaches me, wants to work with me, for example, and this person is able to say, you know what, Siviwe, that student over there, she always late to school, you know, and I live close by the student. And if I can knock by her door when I'm going, because it's the same direction, what I'm trying to explain is a team player, you sit before it becomes a team. They fix something for you. And that's their way in. And it's easier as the owner, the business owner, to like, what, this person already is not a taker. He's a giver.
Mm-hmm.
A great team worker is a giver. And once they're inside, they start coming up with suggestions, you know, or they come to you like, hey, I saw something and I've already done this. I hope that's not going to be, I didn't do something wrong and stuff like that. Sometimes they too make mistakes, but for me, those two are the most important thing. You gotta be a giver, you know, and then that way, when you come into a team, surely you will be a receiver, because to receive is the most easiest one. It is out there. Everyone wants to take and receive. But for me, it's someone who comes up with initiatives within the team. It's someone who doesn't wait to be told what to do. That person, that means they've got, they can empathize. You know what I mean? They can take themselves out of themselves and actually think about the business and think about other people around them. But the ones who takes all the time, hey, can you give me a job, Siviwe? I'm hungry. Then comes in, what do you want me to do? Or sit there, I was waiting for you to this. That's just a take. And in a team, a person like that is the one who's going to train the team, is the one who's going to come with negative things, won't come up with solutions, you know. He's going to see problems all the time. So for me, that for me is sold. I want to work with someone like that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is people that take initiative are mostly people that make great team players and people that are willing to give of themselves when they are a part of the team. For Palesa, I know you were saying that, you know, you had a lot of challenges with some of your team members, you know, throughout your journey. What were some of the things that made you realize that people were actually good team players? How did you spot good team players within your team?
Yeah, I would also agree with Siviwe. Initiative is very important within a team because when you're not there, you want to trust that your business is running smoothly as before and that type of stuff. And also, I like fiery people. I like people who, you know, those people that if you're in a meeting, hey, the meeting won't end early because they're throwing suggestions at everyone. They disagree with everyone. They take that type of initiative to see, like, they've got a different perspective from everybody else. I love those type of people because they help you to see things that you may be failing at. In most meetings, I like to keep quiet and just let them talk because I like them to kind of take the lead, and this is their flow. And but at the same time, I like people who are also open to suggestion as much as they're fiery, but they tend to come down and say, oh, okay, but I see your view in this instance, and that type of thing. So yeah, I'd really agree with Siviwe as well on taking initiative. That is very important.
I must commend you on your leadership style of leading from the back, which can be something very hard, especially when something is something that you really, you know, committed to and it's your baby. And most impact entrepreneurs, you know, their companies are their babies. So it takes a lot to kind of let go and pull back and say, okay, somebody else take the reins. And you know, while you were talking, it made me remember my conversation that I had with Siviwe during lockdown. And he was telling me how he was part of a soup kitchen initiative in Langa. and he had to work with different types of community members, and had to make sure that, people are fed every single day. And I remember Siviwe had said, there were a lot of different challenges because there were so many different dynamics and so many different characters. And it was really hard in the beginning to ensure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do in order for them to kind of reach what the intended goal and vision was, because everybody kind of came in with their own different types of thinking. So can you just tell us how you made everybody work together in the end and realize that the vision is the most important thing besides everybody else's thoughts around what needed to be done?
Yes, because there's another type of leadership in a team. Me, Siviwe, I'm the owner of this non-profit of this business, and I'm building a team as me. But the soup kitchen was very different because Jordan Ways of Cooking is a leader in his own business. The other transport one is a leader. So it was a collective of leaders and a collective of people who are running their own things, coming together with different styles of leadership, and it was so difficult because everyone is used to be the one who comes into their business and who allows people, who kind of creates the framework and the system of work. And we were clashing. I was so frustrated, and I was like, hey, this collaboration I've been preaching all the time, I see why it doesn't work, because I was almost gonna give up, And for me, that's when I was like, no, man, let me just learn how Jordan, because his business is successful. Let me just learn and see what with this type of leadership skill is got, which I disagree with, but it worked. Let me just learn. Let me learn from Mike this side, Let me learn from Foster's, and then I started kind of throwing back, but very engaged. I could have easily now I'm gonna switch off and just let them do it, But I just moved back a little bit, and I was engaged. I was listening. I was watching things I disagreed with, and I watched them work, And slowly, that's how it kind of brought me back into that team, and that's how I started also putting also I think this can go this way, So for me, there I really learned to move back, and to learn is not about me. And my being used to be in the forefront of things. Now let me be led as well, and that's how the collaboration worked. It was a really emotionally, it really trained me, but I really growed a lot, and that was the biggest lesson of collaboration for me during lockdown when I worked with those guys. How it works.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, leading from when you are people leading from the back and kind of letting other people also shine is a biggie that I'm hearing from both of you. And I think it can be extremely hard, especially when you're just used to leading. When you are always the one that is in charge and the one that's making the decisions, it can be really, really hard. And I think it says a lot about your character when you can move back and ensure that the vision is the most important thing. That's what's at the forefront, and not necessarily what you want out of everything.
Yes.
Palesa, you had said that you work with a lot of different schools and you work with a lot of different teams, and you were saying earlier that your teams kind of change all the time because they go off, they come in as interns and then they go off and continue their journeys. So what I want to know from you is I'm sure that's very challenging because, different people coming in and out all of the time can be draining. To ensure that your team is always cohesive, regardless of their different personalities and regardless of the fact that they've just met and they have to do one specific thing and then kind of move on. How do you ensure that they all work together all the time in these teams?
Okay. In the previous years, I've had 5 that was permanent staff members. For them, they don't actually change. So since they know the vision, the mission, and the objective of the game, it was kind of, they had this organizational culture. Now it's down to 2 because of the COVID, the theft, and everything, and literally the roof falling down on us that happened. So it's only down to 2 now of permanent staff members. So they kept that organization culture. So if you come into that space, you know how things work. They kind of they kind of induct the new guys into the team and that type of stuff. So it's they're the ones that I don't know what I'd be without them, because for me most of the time I'm mostly playing at the back, like having the bigger goal and vision of the business itself. But yeah, they're the ones who actually do a lot of work for me. So I'm very thankful to God for them. So yeah.
So if I'm here, yeah. So you're saying like that core team is rather important. So if you have a strong core team of people who understand the vision and who understand what is supposed to be done, then it makes it easier when other people kind of join, because they already have something that they can follow up on, right? But I you know, as awesome as that is, and I'm sure you've got people that you've worked with for many years. As you're saying, Palesa, there are two that have been there with you for quite a bit. But can you guys just give me some examples of a time when there was a conflict in any of the teams that you've worked with, and I think maybe with specifically the core team, and how you actually dealt with that conflict?
Okay. Well, we have conflict all the time. Like, I don't think my business would even exist without conflict. That is how for us we get into ideas. I would call them hackathons, if you might, because within the education sphere, so much is changing. It's such a dynamic environment, and we work with both private and public schools. So at times when we enter into a new school, it's always the fighting about who's going to take over into the school and that type of stuff. So there's a lot of personalities. Wow. There's a lot of personalities. Like, when I take people, I always use the strength finder. I don't do normal interviews, like because I know people have gotten used to saying, what are your strengths, your weaknesses, blah, blah, blah. But with the strength finder, like, they fill that form online. So I know their characteristics when I put them within the team. And as I said before, I like firing people because they show passion. They show that they actually care about what they are doing. So for me, I like to step back and observe and actually learn from them. But at the end of the day, I hold the deciding voice to say that, no, guys, this is going to work and that is going to work. And I love them when they actually challenge me as well and say, no, Palesa, this is not going to work because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it becomes a long haul. And I'm the type of person who would like listen to you, and I'm writing all of the points that you are raising to me. At the end, I am going to challenge you as well on those points and say, but A, you said this, B, you said that, and D, you said that. So what exactly are you saying to me? Just give me one word and let me run with it. So at the end of the day, I'm not, from a very young age, I've never been afraid to be hated for what I believe in. This is just who I am. And I've never been apologetic about that. It's either you take me or you leave me. That is because at the end of the day, if you're always agreeable and always agree with everything that everybody says and you don't have a backbone, oh, the trouble that you're going to face, because you are the one who has, like, the finances. At the end of the month, those people want salaries. Like, the one they're supposed to go ding and salaries in. So you are the one who has to account for that. So you can't always be agreeable with people. So at times you have to, like, be very discerning in terms of, yes, this will work, and yes, this and that type of stuff. So yeah, working with teams and that team dynamics, wow. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like you have quite you've got it together, because you understand when to kind of pull back, but you also understand that you do need to push back as well sometimes, and not just, sit back and say, okay, this is what the team wants, this is what the team gets. So I think that's a commendable strength, because it's very hard to find somebody who can do both, because some of us usually fall on either you're a giver and you're like, it's fine, y'all can do it, or you say, give me ideas, guys, what do you guys have? So to be able to balance that is really impressive. Siviwe, what would you say are some of the elements that make a good team?
Yeah, it's giving, like, the create kind of flat organization, but like Palesa said, you've got to have a backbone when you're going to run an organization like that, because the kind of hierarchy one where you're like, hey, do that, and you're hard on people, you want to create a happy environment, It needs to be flat. At the same time, you need to be very, very strong when things are not going the direction you want. So it's for me, the biggest one is sense of ownership that makes each and everyone who's in the team. When they talk about the brand we're marketing, whether it's Ithuba or it's Happy Feet or Siviwe or Spinach King, they must say we when they talk about the brand. When they speak, when your team is speaking and they start saying, hey, you see, you or Siviwe and me here and there. Once you get that vibe of the team members within, we're all here to promote one brand, but you see, they are not including themselves with the brand. So for me, the sense of ownership is so important, and it's achieved in many ways. Most of them we've mentioned, where people can actually take initiatives, where you can actually give them a task and say, guys, we need a motto for this brand. Or what do you think the motto should be? And then they are the ones who are creating it. Sometimes it's okay. You know what? We're gonna do profit sharing instead of me paying you. So the relationship of employer-employee. Now we're actually partners in this. But yes, the brand is the money, and then the money we share. That's how around Siviwe, everyone owned it. Say, okay, this money comes in, this is for the business, and then we share. So sense of ownership, we're in a team. It's so important. It makes people to go an extra mile. Like Palesa said, there are those who say, no, this meeting cannot end at this time. That person feels at home. Feels like this is mine. Says we. So that for me is the best, and that's what I always seek when I'm part of something. I always want to feel that sense of ownership, and once I don't feel it, the sense of ownership within a space, I just can't. The fuel for me just goes down. So always listen to your team, how they speak, and the signs is when they say you further or you Siviwe, me, then you must go sit them down. There's a problem before it kind of explodes.
Wow, that's so profound. I would have never thought of that. And like while you're speaking, I'm actually thinking of times when it's happened, but like, and it's basically happened in the way that you're saying, that the person would then say you or I, and then shortly after that, it's the relationship is kind of gone into shambles. So that's a very great insight, Siviwe. Palesa, how do you keep your team motivated? I mean, we've just come out of lockdown, and I'm pretty sure that things were extremely hard for businesses around the country. Everybody kind of had a really tough time. So how do you ensure that your team is motivated during times like that, when things are really, really intense?
Well, it's been very difficult to us. Like I said, we literally had a ceiling falling on top of us. So that is how difficult we were through this through lockdown.
Wow, Palesa.
Keeping people motivated. Honestly, for me, everything that I do, I always pray, and be it you pray to God, to the universe, to your ancestors, but it always feels like whenever I pray, there is somebody else who is watching over me and guiding me, and this is the same thing that I've passed down to my team. We never start a meeting without prayer, even if you're going to fight during the meeting, but at the end of the day, we never go through that alone. It's like there's this bigger person who's always watching over us and that type of stuff, and honestly, they motivate me more than I motivate them. At times I feel like I just want want to give up. Lens know I've got a disappearing egg that I do, and I go to the villages whereby I cut off everything, and I just want to be part of nature. I just want to be part of the environment. And looking at that, it becomes like I get a lot of motivations. I remember telling her last time that last time I was actually motivated by a goat that got stuck inside like the wire, and then I watched it. Like I didn't go and help it. Like I just watched it, and it kept on screaming until it annoyed everybody, and they came out and actually helped that goat. I went back to my business with that thing that if I scream hard enough and loud enough, somebody's about to listen. So at times I get motivation from nature, and those are the things I pass down to my team. At times, most of the times, they're the ones who motivate me because they're the ones who are on the ground working with the kids, working with everybody else. So it's a toss and turn. It's not just me, but it's about us. Like Siviwe said, it's about us, not just I and we. It's that type of thing. So yeah.
Mamela, you are motivated by goats. You are making me want to come home. Like I'm listening to you and I'm like, it's nice, goats. You're living the life there in the Eastern Cape. You're really making me think and miss home. Siviwe, I think when Palesa was talking, I was listening and hearing a lot about how it's as much as it's hard to have differences and different people in a team. Diversity is important. So what role do you think diversity plays in the team, and why is it important to have different types of people that are part of one team and not have, the same kind of thinkers?
Yeah, I actually, when I started building a team, I made a big mistake. I actually liked people who were like me. Yeah, this one, when he talks, everyone listens, and dresses like me, likes the stuff I like. So I actually was choosing people like me, and it was a huge disaster, So that's when I realized, no, man, I need people who's gonna intimidate me, that these ones will be greater than me in 2 years. These are the people I need. I need that person who's introvert, who can actually listen, because with us talking too much, people like me, sometimes we miss out on things that we are told, So I was like, I also need someone who just sits there, and listens and moves. And at the same time, I had a lot of guys in my team, from campus dancing to tourism. And I was like, the way we see things is not the same. We are bringing tourists from all over the world, and they're asking me about how to be a young 15, 16, 18-year-old black girl growing up in the township. I am answering that, And I started sitting down the team like, no, man, this is not good. We need now to say, okay, let's look at which females are interested, young ones, so that the people who come to us can get actually the full picture. We can get also the full picture of, because I don't know how to be 18-year-old black girl in the township. Even if I grew up, it's not the same, So that also was really, really important. Also in terms of explain personality, also age, I can explain as much as I can. If I get a historian in the township, they want to know about how was it like living under apartheid. I was so young, you know what I mean? I've learned, I've listened to stories. So I also bring in the old mothers who sit with them and tell their stories when they woke up in the morning, they go to the train, how was it like to work, what kind of payment they were given. So that really, really made our team very, very strong, because we mixed everyone from different channels of looking things, So I use that a lot in everything I'm involved with. I always look like, no, I don't think this is same like with Spinach King. What attracted me to Spinach King was it always like very heavy on me, because I lost my both parents, My mom, I lost her because of diabetes, and my father, high blood pressure. And I was like, the reason they died is because there was never something healthy for them that is easy to go and buy and eat. That's why Spinach King to me, I emotionally connected with it, because I want the local people to eat the bread. That's the main mission. And there now I look at 29 mothers who look like my mother, same age as my mother. That's the biggest therapy for me, you know, because now I'm not just working with guys who are the same age with me. We like cars, you know, we like to cycle and all of those things. We actually went outside my comfortable zone, you know, to actually grow the business, grow the brand, and also grow myself. So it's super, super important.
I think that's what I love most about impact entrepreneurs, is the actual emotions and how you feel around the work that you do, and the importance of that, and ensuring that it's something that you align with. It's something that you could stand for, because it's not just about the product itself, but like the story behind the product, right? And then I think I'm going to ask you guys just one more question before I open up for everybody else to get an opportunity to ask questions. You both spoke a lot about leadership and how everybody needs to have some sort of leadership quality within them when they are part of a team, whether or not they're leading the team or not, but you kind of have to have some sort of leadership within you. So when it comes to leadership, who would you say is your biggest role model, and why? Palesa?
My biggest role models for me, it's very weird. It's the father who has been left with the kids and raises them to the best of his ability. The single mother who is alone but becomes a champion, not just to her children but to her community, who becomes the backbone. Those for me are my role models. It's nobody famous. It's the people that you don't ever get to hear the stories, but for us who work within the community, we see them. Those are my role models.
Amen. Sva?
Yeah, for me, it's two people that I first called role model when I understood what is this role model. Surely my father is the biggest one. I was very, very close to him. But Nelson Mandela and Steve Biko, they really shaped how I interact, how I do things. Nelson Mandela is a kind of person who says everyone should come together, you know, try and move away from the hardships and the pains. Steve Biko says, trust in you, who you are. There's nothing wrong to be with you, to being the way you are and the way you look. So I kind of combined those two, and I was like, if these two philosophies are guiding me, I can go anywhere, you know. So yeah, that's what I call role models for me.
That is so awesome. I think my favorite leaders and role models are impact entrepreneurs who see a problem and they go for it, and they figure out how to fix it, and you know, without thinking of themselves before. So anybody who kind of leads with putting other people's needs. Great. I'm going to open up to the floor now for anybody who'd like to ask Siviwe and Palesa some questions. You guys can either, you know, show me a little high five, put up your hand, or you can write something in the chat, and then Siviwe and Palesa will answer your question. Oh, there is a question already from Lauren, and she says, may I ask, what will be the most challenging thing about being a social entrepreneur in the early stages of establishing an organization? And what advice would you have for someone, me, who would like to establish an organization aimed at self-development? Either one of you can take it. See, your microphone is not on mute, so you can go first, and then I'll move to Palesa.
So that the biggest challenge in the beginning, you know, is to why are you doing what you're doing, you know, and how connected are you with it? And also the challenge in the beginning is you're gonna open up yourself to other people's problems and you're going to connect with them. And you're going to meet people who you want coming to them and say, self-development is very, very important for you. It will take you somewhere. And the very same person who needs this is going to say, no, you think you are clever here. What do you know? So in the beginning, the people you really want to change are the ones who are going to hit you very hard. So that's the biggest challenge in the beginning. So you must always look up for that one. And then the second one was how to grow it. I think there were two questions.
And it says, what advice would you give someone who would like to establish an organization aimed at self-development?
Yeah, yes, that's the most important one, because in terms of registration, money, branding, that's not a problem to become a social entrepreneur. You always find ways, but you must always look for those ones that hit hard on your why you're doing what you're doing. And it is done by the very same people you want to impact positively, and they give you back negatively. So if you pass that stage and you understand that the reason I'm doing this is because where help is needed the most, it is where it's resisted the most. Once you understand that, you pass that stage, there's nothing will stop you.
Okay, awesome stuff. Palesa, what would you say to Lauren? What is the most challenging thing about being a social entrepreneur in the early stages? And also, what advice would you give someone who would like to establish an organization aimed at self-development?
Okay, I will try to build on what Siviwe has laid down. I 100% fully agree with what he said, and about self-development and also the trust that you need to establish. Remember, if you're working, especially with self-development, these are people who have been failed by the system. These are people who have been failed by a lot of people who promised them to build them and that type of stuff. So trust, you gotta earn that trust, and it's very difficult. It's not simple. And also remember, if you want to become a social entrepreneur, I always like for me to swap those two and say that I'm an entrepreneur first who has got a social perspective. Remember that there's a business side to it. If you want to grow your impact, you want to grow and become more than what you are, you need to also remember that you are an entrepreneur first, but who's got a social perspective, who's trying to solve problems within the community, because everybody has got a good heart. Everybody wants to help. They want to go back where they came from and build on that and give back. But the most difficult is that most of those things are not sustainable. Like when we started Priyo Tech, most people were asking, why are you making these people pay for what? And I said, no, 50 rands is not a lot to pay. I want to make sure that they are actually committed to this thing. They want to get this thing, because when people go, especially to poor communities, they want to give freebies and free stuff. That is unsustainable. So remember, sustainability is key, and you are an entrepreneur with a social perspective, and people need to show their commitment, because giving them freebies, saying, okay, it's self-development, so I'm just going to go to schools, give them motivational talk. Trust me, those kids are going to forget that you even came there, because everybody is coming to give them motivational speaking and that. And when they go back home, they go back with hungry, their stomachs are hungry. They go back to a community, perhaps the mother is drinking and that type of stuff. You need to know who you're working with. Don't just say free. Don't just say build something. Sustainability is key. Make sure that if you're giving self-development, at the end of the day, it's really self-development. Create the impact and make sure that your impact is sustainable. Become firstly an entrepreneur with a social perspective and make sure that you are very sustainable. Don't just say free. I want to help. Everybody is doing that, but have a differentiator. What will make you last within that community for years to come? So that's just my 5 cents.
No, it's not just 5 cents. It's a lot. Like there was a lot from there that I even took. I was like, yes, Fali with the bombs. I think Louise had a comment on here as well. Is it useful to first have some corporate experience before becoming an entrepreneur or not? Also, how to build networks that will help you build the business. So can you start?
yeah, it's any experience, whether it's corporate, or also maybe it's community, but any experience or any knowledge that you have gathered throughout your life, and you see that it will be relevant in what you want to do. It's an advantage, and as social entrepreneurs, as much as it's very important to start from the ground up. So you can take the knowledge you have with the corporate and then go closer to the problem. Because sometimes people who have corporate and sponsorship and stuff, they have this outside-in perspective that ending up just pouring money, into a bottomless cup, and things are not getting solved. But it's a huge advantage to have that knowledge, that language, because corporate is a different language, understanding there. We all want to go to corporates, to talk to them, to give us funds, to partner with us, to collaborate with us, so it's a big advantage. But the only flip side of it, other people they just come with that, and then they just come with a nice website and funds and this and descriptions of how these problems are going to solve, and they're very, very far from the problem, and that's why it does not really work. And also building up networks, it's really, really important. I always say, speaking from your heart, that's how you build connections. Being honest and at the same time showing how things are going. When things are not going well, and go and communicate. I learned this from a mentor called Alfie. He said, Siviwe, go and tell the funders that the project really just crumbled down, never worked. And that's how, and then when we tell them what's the solution you are proposing, things can work. And what I've realized was sometimes it's not about how you messed up. It's about how you come up from your mess. That makes you actually build even a stronger partnership and networks with your people which are around you. But yes, it's really, really important to be out there, talk about your downs, talk about your ups, and people, they always love also to be connected with success, with something that actually give results, and that really expands your networks. Joining like Red Bull Academy, being part of Further. We met with Palesa in Pretoria. I was never gonna meet with her presenting there, but we met a lot of other social entrepreneurs. So always on the lookout of spaces, of spaces that talks to you. That's really, 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 really important.
That's really great sound advice. And I think what lockdown has given us an opportunity to do is definitely go digital and just find spaces and find solutions and find people. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because a lot of us were just like, oh, social media. And you can actually use those spaces to find the right people and the right kinds of networks that you might be looking for. Palesa, do you have anything to add with regards to Louise's question about corporate experience before becoming an entrepreneur, and also how to build networks?
Just building on what Siviwe has said, is for me, I came from corporate, so it has served me well. I won't lie about that. It has served me well because I know whom to go and speak to if I actually want to get that CSI and that type of stuff. So it will serve you well, especially when you are within like the scaling up part. When you have, but most corporate, they want you to come with something on hand, not just an idea, because a lot of people come to pitch ideas to them like on a daily basis. They want you to have something sound. So it does serve you, especially when you already have something to say. You've got a proof of concept to say this works, and this is actually how I'm going to make it sustainable. So that corporate, I've got that corporate advantage. So it is a very big advantage for you. So I would say go ahead. it will serve you well. And the second question was on building networks. You can never go ahead without networks. You are not an island, and being solitary will never serve you well as a social entrepreneur. Even the word itself, it says social. So you cannot really expect to do it all on your own. So you need those networks, you need those people. I've got a box full of business cards. Whenever I want, like we're doing a new project or launching a new pilot, I go back to them and I look, okay, who will serve me well in what I'm doing and that type of stuff. So you need to have those networks.
That's incredible, Palesa. I think, just going back to what we had said about, just trusting that these are the things that you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to be doing them as well. Uzola had earlier on while we were chatting, she had commented about, how hard it is when you are a business owner to kind of entrust somebody else with your work. And she feels like it's one of the if no one can understand what your plans and your visions are, it makes it really, really hard. So how does one get past that? How do you get past not trusting other people enough to take your vision forward?
Yeah, it's a risk, and I always say, whatever you do, it's a risk. It's either it's a calculated risk or it's a foolish risk. And and it's a risk you have to take, but you look at things and like, okay, does this person do the initiative what we explained before? You must have some kind of small framework, that you create for yourself when you start. Like, I would love to see someone like this and like this to work. If anyone will take my idea forward, it would be nice if they will have a thinking like that. And then once you have that and they come in, you try and work on them, without like telling them, kind of rub it off to them and always compliment them. You see, when you're integrating someone into your traditions and culture and how you want them to work with you and believe in what you make them to believe in what you believe in, you have to congratulate. Positive reinforcement is so important in shaping that person to be with you. A small thing like, oh wow, you made it early today. Like, I like this thing about you, always on time. It's really impressive. And tell them a story. There was someone like there, and then the problem, they always came late and they missed out stuff. So I use that a lot when I'm integrating the person to believe in what I believe in. Otherwise, you cannot just interview someone and you are impressed with how they answer the questions, and then you think that person can move with that. Then I feel like there it becomes a little bit difficult. More especially if you're not a big corporate, you are working with people who doesn't have a deep experience of the field. You know what I mean? So it is a process, and it's a transition process for that person. Because that person, remember, they come from another world, and you're putting them into another world. So it doesn't turn from black to white, So remember the sunrise, that orange color, and the sunset, that orange color. That's changing from daylight to night. So also a human being needs that transition process. And you as a leader, you have to find ways to how to integrate that person into your, and then you can give them the baton to run with it.
You are so insightful, Siviwe. Just the complimenting people, like it spoke to me. Yesterday we spoke about communication styles, and I'm a socializer, and apparently people that communicate like me need to be complimented by people to make them, kind of get up and do more. So like, I appreciate that. I think maybe I'm going to be knocking at your door there. I'm not sure where, because, I've got options. I can be there, happy feet. I can be Ithuba. I can just think about where it fits in. Because I feel like if there's positive reinforcements in your businesses, I want to play with you. Palesa, what would you have to say? What could you say to Uzola that would help her, like, just entrust people more with her vision?
Okay, firstly, Sisanda, you are doing great, Sisi.
Enkosi, yazi wena, ngithandele way, yazi wena.
Okay, Zola, for me, I had problems believing in myself. I had a self-esteem issue. When I first started, I was told straight up that it will never work. I remember being in an office I won't mention the name of the department, but they told me straight up, they said, we do have the funding, do a normal business. They said to me, do a normal business. Say perhaps you just want to open an internet cafe or you just want to train people, not children, not schools. They told me straight up, it will never work. So I had to believe in myself, believe in my vision, and trust in it. Because what happened is that I ended up doing a lot of different things, like going there and then they're trying to please everybody, which was so draining. And I'll always be thankful to Ellie for this, who just said to me, Palesa, you know what, you're just doing too much. Let us reconcile everything and tell me what you really want to do and believe in it. So you have to trust in your vision firstly before you can sell it to anybody else. Believe in yourself. Then people will start believing in you. Even if it takes you a month, 3 months, a year, it doesn't matter. You firstly need to believe in your vision before you sell it to other people. That's all the advice that I can give.
I love it. Believe in yourself. And I think this was the apple. It was great. It was wonderful. I think I retract my previous comment. I think I want to go work for Priyo in the Eastern Cape, because Palesa was just, she said it to me, man. You know, she didn't say that's what happens in the company. She told me that I was wonderful. So I retract. I'm sorry, I'm moving over to Priyo. So we have a question from Lauren, and she says, how do you approach branding, expanding your audience to reach more people without alienating your core target audience? So yeah, how do you expand your audience that you already have, but also not alienate the people that are your current target?
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one right there.
Yeah,
that's a very great question. It's it's because we're always looking for balance, you know, and that's the one, like you're gonna struggle with that for the rest of your entrepreneurial life, you know. So like for me, it's I want to work with people who believe in the vision, who believes in what we believe in as a social enterprise. And then also what I've realized was, when I chase and expand too many, you end up sometimes attracting people who have who will divert you from your vision and your purpose as a brand, and also as a person. So use your social media, use your newsletters, use your emails, and you have to be consistent. Whenever you send something, be consistent of what is it that you are about. What's the purpose? Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your next one? So that you can be able, even when you expand, you don't expand with people who are gonna be dead weight, maybe expand a lot of your networks, and then you get people who are very negative, you know, who's gonna come in, you know, and like their thing never worked, and now they're gonna come inside your space and try and pull you down. So I think consistency in what you're doing, even when you're changing your vision slightly, you communicate. Now the vision is changing slightly, and have a backbone, like Palesa said. That backbone is very important from the content you sent out there to bring in more people.
Okay, Palesa, I'm going to ask you a different question, and I think that'll be the last question of the session, because I think we're running over a bit on time. Because Nyandazmus, I can talk all day with the two of you. I can sit here and talk mini yonge. So there's a question, Eti, what entrepreneurship thinking skills can be useful for intrapreneurs and translated into other environments of people who might not actually start a business, but still want to innovate and make a difference? So what entrepreneurship skills can somebody kind of take and use elsewhere if they want to innovate and make a difference, but without using it in business?
Okay, opportunistic cost. For me, economy is everything, to say that if I do this, what am I missing on? You always need to weigh your options and say that if I become an entrepreneur, what impact am I just an entrepreneur for the sake of money, or am I an entrepreneur in terms of impact? And you weigh the both of them and kind of find the balance and so forth. So for me, I would say opportunistic cost in everything that you do. Always weigh your options. Like I said, if you're working on a team and that type of stuff, you need to weigh all of the options and say, oh, that was a great idea, but does it really fit within our industry? And what type of impact is it going to cost? How much is it going to cost us financially? How is it going to impact their lives and transform and change the lives of the people that we're trying to change? So you need to always weigh your options. Those are skills that you take not just from an entrepreneurship perspective, but in your daily life as well. In terms of saying, okay, if I wake up like today, if I wake up and come to this further chat and that type of stuff, what is in it for me and that type of stuff? Like, you always need to weigh your options. Opportunistic cost for me is everything in my daily life.
Awesome! You guys are so great. I think I'm going to end off the session with a comment from Zola. She says there's a quote I read a couple of years ago where a CEO asks a COO, what happens if we develop our people and they and they up and leave? And the COO replies, what happens if we don't and they stay? And I think that captures some of the things you guys have said. So I think that's like the best way of ending the session. You guys have been awesome and amazing as always. You are just so inspirational, man. You know, you're just so inspirational. So go out there and keep flourishing and keep doing all these amazing things that you guys are doing. I'm so proud and I'm so inspired. Diabulela. Thank you, guys.